Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Your Mark on the World show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and I'm a Forbes contributor covering social entrepreneurship and impact investing. Our guest today is the president of Virgin Unite, Jean Oelwang. Jean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Devin, very much. Lovely to be here.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. Yeah, I think Richard Branson is known for his social passion, but I'm not always sure that we label him a social entrepreneur, but I think you are evidence that he very much is. What's your take?
I think he's an incredible social entrepreneur, and he's kind of had this perspective of using entrepreneurship to make the world a better place, really since the beginning of the Virgin Group.
Yeah, everything about him has kind of a social element to it, and you are now the primary manifestation of that passion. And so we really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. Give us a sense of the scope and breadth of Virgin Unite, would you?
Yeah, Virgin Unite, we were set up to look at how do we take all of the incredible businesses across the Virgin Group, the entrepreneurial energy across the Virgin Group, and the convening and collaboration power to really take brilliant entrepreneurial ideas, connect them with people to really scale responses to social and environmental issues. And so we do a number of things. One thing is that we support young entrepreneurs all over the world to create disruptive solutions to problems. The second thing we do is we look at bringing together disruptive collaborations that really help clear the runways for business-based solutions to social and environmental issues, like the Carbon War Room or the Elders or the B Team. And then the third thing we do is we use our voice to shout loudly about issues that are completely unacceptable, to try to help turn them upside down, whether that be things like helping to end shark finning, making sure that we shout for gay rights around the world. So issues where we can use our voice to have some significant impact.
It really is a broad-reaching range of activities that you're engaged in. One of the things that you're working on is this notion of 100% human at work. What is that about?
Yeah, so 100% human at work. We started something called the B Team. And the B Team is a group of business leaders that have come together, people like Arianna Huffington, Ratan Tata, Mo Ibrahim, Richard, Paul Pullman from Unilever, a group of about 15 to 20 business leaders. And they've really come together to form a collective to look at how can they work towards a better way of doing business for the well-being of people and planet. And one thing that we found was really important is there's no way we can think about people thousands of miles away from us or the planet unless we can actually be compassionate with one another across the cubicle. So it was thinking about how do we truly bring humanity back into the workplace and become compassionate with one another and just simply be 100% human at work. So that was the genesis of the idea.
I think that's a wonderful concept. And Gina, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but how do we be 100% human at work? I remember during my tenure as CFO of a large company that I did things that weren't very human. How would you have counseled me to behave? I guess I'm thinking the best example is letting someone go. Yeah. And the very act of letting someone go is just not a very kind or very human thing. You know, we don't say to our children and count it as a human behavior, sorry, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and I think I'll come back to letting someone go, because I think you can do that in a very compassionate way. I think business today has really been geared towards short-term profitability, which sometimes squeezes humanity out of business. And I think that's really hurt business ultimately. If you look at, there's a recent study from Gallup that found that 87% of people are not engaged with their work. And we spend 33% of our time at work. So you can imagine all those wasted hours of productivity where we could be improving the bottom line of the business as well as making a difference in the world. So right now, it's not good for business the way we're treating people as well. So I think bringing humanity back in is positive from an impact perspective we can have in the world as well as for the bottom line. And back to your question, just in terms of firing someone, I think it's thinking about how you do that compassionately. So in many instances, someone that you're going to be firing is not right for the organization. So it's how you go through that process of perhaps helping them. There's many companies now that will actually pay someone to leave, or if they stay on board, they'll help them find something else, or they'll go through a process where they're doing it compassionately, so you're not just asking someone to clear their desks the next day. So I think it's all about leading up to that point too, and working through. There's a lot of work happening in the companies that we're working with about how you do an annual review, for example, that it's not just one day and a surprise. Instead, it's how you do that constantly every single week, so that perhaps letting someone go is not going to be such a painful experience.
Well, I tell you, those annual reviews, I can't think of anything I hate more about business than an annual review. I hated getting them. I hated giving them. It's the worst. So how do you humanize that? How do you undertake that, as you're saying, feedback on a weekly basis?
Well, I think one of the things that's changing in the world of work is that people are looking for lifelong learning right now. They're not looking to come to work, just do a job. They're not looking at leaving their own personal life at the door. They're looking at how it's really not about balance between work and life. It's about a blend. And so I think in the lead up to the review process, every single minute that you have an interaction with someone in your company, you have the chance to help them grow, to help them develop, to help them shape their role, to help them have a purpose in life. And that's another trend we're seeing, is that people that come to work now want to have a larger purpose, both with what they're doing and with the larger organization. And I think annual reviews are going to be something that will go into the trash bin over time, because an annual review is one moment in time that could be impacted by any kind of context around that. And a much more effective way to do that is to have weekly check-ins, and then perhaps on the fourth check-in you have a discussion around performance. And so again, there's no surprises, and there's ongoing feedback every single day, every single minute.
No. Well, the 5 principles that you have identified as part of the 100% Human at Work program are respect, equality, growth, belonging, and purpose. I wonder if you would describe how those work together to create this objective.
Yeah, and those 5 have come out of lots of couple of years now of working with companies and with individuals to say what's important to you when you go into the office. And what we've been trying to do is look at how can we get companies to share things that they're doing in their company that respond to those 5 elements. And every single one of them, the two bottom ones, these respect and equality, are almost givens in every single company, that we should be delivering those to everyone that walks into our door and is part of our family as an organization. I think growth is something that is becoming really interesting, about how you help someone not just grow in what they're doing in their own job, but how you help their whole being, and how you look at how they can have more purpose in life through work and through what they do in their own life. And then I think that sense of real belonging is something people don't want to come into a company and feel like they're a number on a spreadsheet. They want to come into a company and feel like they're part of a family and part of an organization that's, again, going to have more meaning and more purpose in the world. And I think we've seen that particularly from this next generation. We just did a recent study in the UK, and they came back with the words that they want in the workplace of the future. And it was things like compassion. It was things like community. It was things like purpose. It wasn't things like competitive and cutthroat. Those words scored way down on the bottom of the spreadsheet.
Interesting. Now, I think fundamentally that Virgin Unite is thinking about this not just as an end in itself, as noble as it is, but that as a broader means, that we can't be focused on purpose and impact and changing the world and being environmentally friendly and all the things that we value good and nobly if we aren't in the first place being human. Where do you take this? What are the long-term goals for being human at work?
Yeah, I think our ultimate goal is that by being human at work, we're going to create mobilized workforces of millions of people around the world that will be lifting to their own higher purpose and also helping their organization deliver to a much higher purpose and meaning and delivering change in the world. Because there's no way that we can do the things we need to do from a planet perspective and from lifting people out of poverty unless we start to right at the basis of where many of our behaviors start in the workplace of helping people to be human to each other. And I think what's happened in the world is we've got so far away from that, again, as we focus so much on short-term profitability, that sense of being human to one another and building relationships with one another has fallen to the wayside because there's been so much pressure for a company to deliver that profitability. And I think ironically what's happened is what we've seen is that companies have actually been impacted negatively because they're losing that engagement from their workforce.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant strategy. I want to just take advantage, if I may, Jean, if you'll forgive the intrusion, but I want to ask you some personal questions, get some insight about you as a leader and personally, but certainly in your position at Virgin Unite, you are a role model to thousands and thousands of Virgin employees around the world, and of course to other people. I mean, you're really a role model. Who do you look up to as a role model?
Yeah, I mean, I have the great privilege of working with some amazing people. So I think I've got many role models that I learn from every day. I think probably the one that always stands out in my mind is Mary Robinson, who is the former president of Ireland. And I think for a few reasons. I think one is she's just someone that listens so intently to every single person she has a conversation with. And I think the second thing is she's just got such deep grace and humility. I'll never forget, we were one time walking into an event with her and there was lots of TV cameras lined up, and the TV cameras were obviously for her, but she was worried about all of us getting into the event. So she stepped in the back of the group to make sure that we all got in rather than going in the front. And I also think she's a beautiful example for females of someone that has such deep power, but she's also kept her feminine energy and her feminine nature. And she can walk into a room with anyone and get her points across in a way that really gets people to stand up and listen. And I think the last thing is probably her extraordinary partnership with her husband, Nick, and the way the two of them respect and love each other. And so I'd have to say Mary is someone that I look up to every day and have learned lots from.
Well, those are great examples. I appreciate you sharing those. Sometimes those little things make a big difference to people, and I appreciate that. You know, Jean, you obviously are an extraordinary woman, an extraordinary person. You could be doing anything, and yet you are focused 100% on this change, on leading the nonprofit initiatives at Virgin. Why do you care about changing the world? Why do you do this?
Yeah, I think I guess I've always had a deep passion about fairness and giving everyone a fair go in the world. And I think when I started in the corporate world and then left to become a Vista volunteer in the States, I think I quickly learned that the problems lay really in systemic issues, that the way we have created the way we do business, the way that the business, not-for-profit, and government sectors work together are broken. And so I developed a deep passion, I think, through working in the not-for-profit in the business sector of how we change those structures, and so that we build a much fairer world for everyone, where everyone really has the opportunity to lift and grow to their higher potential. And I think particularly in the business world, I can remember when I started first in the corporate sector, a well-meaning mentor gave me 2 books. One was The Art of War, and I think he was trying to prepare me for going into the boardroom and the battle of short-term profitability. And the second was The Joy of Cooking, just in case I failed at the first.
What brutal! Oh my God!
So I think I have to say, I have failed at both of those as well. But I think that was the first indication for me about why on earth were we thinking about work as war, and how can we, again, create structures of how we build those human interactions, how we create a world of work that really thinks about people and planet alongside profit, and what an incredibly different world that would be. And we can do that. So that's what drives me every day, is how do we create this new world of work? How do we lift people out of poverty? How do we really make sure that we respond to the climate crisis that we're in?
I think that's great insight, and I love that story. It's just painful for me to hear that, and perhaps it didn't offend you nearly as much as it offends me on your behalf, but oh my heavens. In any case, thank you for sharing it. But Jean, the last thing I want to ask you is for an impact hack. We have to ask all of our guests and for some tip that we can use to have more impact and do more good in the world. What do you suggest?
I think the number one thing we all need to do more of, and something that helps me have more impact, is listen. I think deep listening to people, and one thing that I find that I constantly do when I'm listening is connecting the dots. So how can you listen and learn from every individual that you come into contact with, and make sure that you connect dots and look at how you can have greater impact in the world through those conversations that you're having?
No, that's a perfect insight. Thank you very much, and a great way to wrap up. Now, I know people are going to want to learn more about you and about Virgin. Tell us how people can, in fact, engage with you and learn more about what you're doing.
Yeah, if you can go to #VirginUnite and talk to us via Twitter, and you can also go on to the Virgin Unite website as well, which is www.virgin.com, and then go into the Virgin Unite section.
Fantastic. Well, Jean, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us. We wish you every success in your initiatives.
Thank you, Devin. Thanks very much for having me.
All righty. Let's do some good.